Welcome to the last game of Marvel Month. But this one's kinda big. I mean, two heroes fight against villains, culminating in a battle with Dr. Doom, and all of this is apparently his plan, as it's all part of Dr. Doom's revenge.
RetroKork.
Before Paragon Software developed the game X-Men Madness in Murder World in 1989, they in 1988 released a game starring Spider-Man, who in the comics was already married. It also starred Captain America before he got his Liefeld breast enlargement. Now in this game you have to face off against multiple enemies, including Eduardo Lobo, who is not to be mistaken for the other, the really awesome Lobo. Then there's the Grey Gargoyle. Then there's Machete, who definitely doesn't look like Danny Trejo. There's Boomerang, Oddball, Electro, Rhino, and the Hobgoblin, as well as Batroc the Leaper. Batroc the Leaper. Then there's Zaran, or Zaran, with the Z, because he's not Saran Wrap. And then there's the Hulk. Oh, that's a Mysterio fake. And then there's a new face in town called Ratan, who probably was turned into furniture when the game was over. And of course, at the end of it, you face up against Dr. Doom. Or maybe it's just a Doombot. Who knows? After all, there are a bunch of robots in the game. In fact, your very first enemies are robots. You may also encounter hazards like, say, fireballs. Oh, and by the way, you switch between Spidey and Cap on a regular basis, pretty much between pages. So when you go through a full page, you pretty much just go to the next to the other character. Oh, and while there are a few minimalistic sound effects in the game, music's only in the intro and maybe the outro, but I haven't gotten that far yet. Now, with all of that said, the game is definitely better than X-Men Madness in Murder World, even though it may be more linear. The usability is less of an issue, though combat still uses the same methods of pressing fire and direction. But at least I've encountered long-range weaponry, though it seems to be limited, at least for the web slinger. Now, the graphics are adequate, and the comic pages are doing their hardest to emulate the look and feel of a comic book. Now, unfortunately, the meat of the game, the combat scenes, feel rather separate from that, almost as if a completely different team worked on the backgrounds and the character sprites, because that looks far less skilled, more like a boring game, like a cheap Street Fighter 2 knockoff, or maybe worse, a Street Fighter 1 knockoff. Given the limitations of the Commodore 64, the game is quite good, and if you find a copy of it, preferably with all the documentation, as it provides both background information and the booklet with the background information on the villains, also doubles as copy protection for original copies of the game, I suggest you give it a go. Just put on some superhero music on beforehand, okay? And so, Marvel Month comes to an end. The next episode is really important, as it's episode 123. So it only makes sense for me to talk about two Sesame Street games, doesn't it?